Hi everyone, Will here, and we're going to talk about singing with students who are nonverbal. So I hope that you're ready to learn a whole bunch of new ideas, and let's get going. Here we go. Five. Hello.
Hello.
How are you? I'm fine. Thank you. Hello, 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 hello to you. So the video you just saw was my daughter. Her name is Riley, and she has a brain disorder known as bifrontal polymicrogyria. One of the big things that happens with that brain disorder is that there are delays and hypotonia. What that means is that one, she's delayed in her development, and she may not actually ever develop a full speech pattern like me or you would have, putting together words in a meaningful way, giving commands and things like that. It also means that she might not even have the muscle tone to move her jaw in a way to give all of the necessary movements for each sound. So you can see that in the clips that I put on, she can sing, and she can sing words. Are they the most accurate diction? Well, no, that's not the point. The point is that she is singing and she's using words. So for those of you who have nonverbal students, I want to talk to you about how we can adapt singing to reach our nonverbal students. The truth is, nonverbal doesn't actually mean can't speak. That's not it at all. Nonverbal is more or less a definition used when a student uses words in a very minute way or just sounds or gestures. So some nonverbal students have no words at all. They make sounds, they might point, they may gesture towards things, and they expect you to figure out what they need. Other students have limited speech, but they're still considered nonverbal. They might use a word like milk to mean all drinks, or pizza to mean all food. That doesn't mean that they can't talk. It just means that they can't put words together in a meaningful way. They can't say, I would like pizza. Make sense? Okay. So when we're dealing with students in our groups of students, we're dealing with students in our groups of students who are nonverbal, they don't need to be excluded when we're learning to sing. Just because they might not have words does not mean they do not have pitch recognition. So what's the difference between singing words and singing pitches? Well, it's really simple. Try this with me. La, 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 la. All right, try it with me. La, 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 la. Try this. Wah, 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 wah. Wah, 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 wah. What was the difference? Simple. The first time I used la, 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 la. Second time I used wah, 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 wah. But the notes were the same. You were able to recognize that the pitches in both exercises were the same pitch. Students who are nonverbal can do that as well. They can actually sing and hum along. They might not actually use the right words, but if you listen, the pitches that they're choosing are correct. One student that I actually had recently hummed all the time, but he would stop humming when we were learning a song, and then we would hear him humming the notes to the song that we were singing. Pitch recognition is different than a verbal skill. They're hearing the sound and they're moving their voice around, playing with the sounds that they have to make the sound. The second thing that we really can do with nonverbal students is actually teach them words, but teach them as sounds. What does that mean? Well, you're going to say, well, words are sounds. I understand that. But if you break down the sound of a word, let's take the hello song, for instance. Hello, a-o, a-o, a-o. And you model the movement of your lips. What you're going to see and what you're going to hear is that your nonverbal students are going to be able to participate a lot better than you had originally thought they could. Let's go through those vowels real quick because those are really the big ones that you need to do if you'd like nonverbal students to sing. When we're singing ah, try to be consistent. Ah, ah, ah. What are you seeing with my mouth? I'm dropping the jaw, making it nice and tall, putting my tongue out of the way. Ah, ah. If you sing your ah when you're working on ah in your class, just like that, I promise you'll start to see some of your nonverbal students emulating it. They are seeing you make the shape ah, and they're hearing the sound ah, and they're recognizing that pitch, and they're gonna copy or mirror what you're doing. Ah. Let's do the next one. Eh, eh, eh. Now make sure you have that tongue behind your teeth. Eh, eh. You'll be surprised as to how many of your nonverbal students will just naturally put their tongue behind their teeth if they see you do it. Eh, eh. Next one is really tricky. E. I would definitely like you as music teachers to use the correct E vowel, which would be a really big curve in your tongue while the tongue is behind the back of the teeth. E, E. But that actually might be too hard. So this is the one time I would tell you, go ahead and allow your nonverbal students to make the easier E. E, E. If they see this spread, they'll be able to make that sound. E, E. Now you're going to say, Mr. Parker or Will. If we're trying to teach them how to make sounds, how come we're not showing them or modeling the correct E vowel? Well, it's really simple. And a lot of students who have verbal issues, there's this thing where they're not really able to control the muscles of their mouth. The tongue is a really big muscle, right? So the idea of them being able to stick their tongue behind their teeth and really curve, not really something that would be achievable. So just like you would adapt how a student would hold a drumstick, or you would adapt how rhythm skill would be, maybe make it more simple, we're going to make it more simple. They can definitely do this. E, E. I even recommend that you do smile while you sing it. E, E. That way they see that spread, they know they're showing their teeth, and they can make the E sound. All right, let's keep going. O, 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 O. O is one that a lot of my nonverbal students love to sing. They love looking in the mirror in my classroom and seeing their lips make the sound that they're singing, the O shape. O, O. Keep in mind that nonverbal students doesn't necessarily mean they don't know words either. In fact, a lot of times in their academic classes, they might be able to point out words on a piece of paper, but not be able to say them. So seeing the O shape might connect that visually for them to see, that's how I make that shape, that's how I make that sound. The last one is actually the hardest one. I know, you probably thought it was going to be the E's, but it is not. It's the oo. And the reason why it's so hard is when we sing, we like to do this. Watch my jaw. Ooh, ooh. Now look from the front. Ooh, ooh. It's really hard to tell what we're doing, right? So, really important, make sure you keep your lips closed in a really tight circle. Keep your jaw down, but don't expect your nonverbal students to do that. They might not be able to drop the jaw. Ooh. So if you model ooh, ooh, and you get ooh, ooh, that is perfectly okay. Using yourself as the model, really showing the vowel shapes. Ah, e, o, ooh. You'll start to see that students will begin to sing. What's also interesting is they will start to recognize those sounds being put together. They may not recognize them as words, but they will recognize them as sounds. Think about it. O, ah, ooh, ah, eh, ooh. We just sang the hello song. hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. See all the shapes we did? So, when you're working with your nonverbal students and you want to work on singing, they can, 1, recognize pitch, 2, see the shape you're modeling, 3, imitate the shape you're modeling, and 4, typically sing at least 3 vowels pretty clearly. The ones that are a little bit tricky are going to be the last one, the oo, and actually one of the e's. And it's kind of interesting in my experience. You never know which one. Some might be good with some might be good with e, but rarely are they good with both. Not that it's not teachable, but I'm just telling you that's tends to be how it goes. So when you're going to work on singing with your class, don't put the nonverbal students away. Don't have them do something else. Instead, bring them closer so that they can see the shape of your lips, hear the sounds, and imitate what they see and hear. All right, thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video. Make sure you share, like, and subscribe, and leave comments. I'd love to answer questions and work with you more on making a more full adaptive music program. I hope you all have a great day. Bye.